Now we are going to learn the next topic, that is shift in the budget line. We learned how to construct a budget line and we learned what is the shape of the budget line. It is a downward sloping straight line and the slope of the budget line is MRE, that is market rate of exchange, which is equal to delta Y by delta X or Px by Py. Now we can see in what all situations the budget line is getting shifted. You know what is a budget line? It shows the possible combinations of two commodities that a consumer can buy with his given income and prices of the commodities given. Now you know the equation of budget line, that is Px into X plus Py into Y is equal to M. Under what all circumstances a budget line will get shifted? That is a topic that we are going to learn now. Shift in the budget line. A shift of the budget line can happen under these situations: when the income changes, when the price of X changes, when the price of Y commodity changes, when the income and both the price changes together, when the price of X falls and price of Y rises, when the price of X rises and price of Y falls. These are the different circumstances in which a budget line will get shifted. Now let us first learn what happens to the budget line when the income of a person changes. Income of a person changes means income can either increase or decrease. In two situations, how a budget line will get shifted. That is what we are going to learn. Now this is good X on the X axis and good Y on the Y axis. Now this is the initial budget line. I will mark it as PB, initial budget line. Now when the income of the consumer increases, his combination of both X and Y will increase. He will buy more of X and Y. X commodity and Y commodity he will buy more. Therefore his budget line will shift to the right. A new budget line I have drawn here. This is a new budget line as P1 B1. Now this is with regard to increase in the money income of the consumer. If the money income of the consumer decreases, what will happen? He will buy only less of X and Y, less of X and Y. When the money income increases, he will buy more of X and Y. If the money income is decreasing, he will buy less of X and Y. So ultimately the budget line will get shifted to the left. This is with case of decrease, and the new budget line is P0 B0. This is how we mark. So when the money income of the consumer increases, he will buy more of X and Y. Therefore budget line will shift to the right. If the money income falls, he will buy less of X and Y. Therefore budget line will shift to the left. Now we will move on to the next situation, when the price of X rises. So next condition is when the price of X changes. Price of X can either increase or decrease. Price of X changes means price of X can either increase or decrease. So price of X rises, price of X falls. So this is, we are learning under the heading price of X changes. So price of X can either rise or fall. When the price of X rises, what will happen? This is the initial budget line PB. What happens if the price of X rises? Normally, when the price of a commodity rises, we will buy less of that commodity, isn't it? So what happens to the budget line of X? Here one thing you have to keep in mind, price of Y is not changing, it is remaining to be constant. So don't touch Y, only X is changing. What kind of a change is happening to X? X is rising, therefore only less quantity of X you will buy. Therefore you have to draw the budget line concentrating on X. This is the initial budget line, PB is the initial budget line. So when PB is the initial budget line, or PX1 is the initial budget line, when the price of X increases, consumer will buy less of X. Therefore, being y remaining to be constant, budget line can be drawn to the left side, showing a less quantity of x from x1 to x. As the price of x has increased, consumer is purchasing less of x. Therefore, x has shifted from x1 to x. Next, when the price of x falls. Price of x falling means what? More of x will be bought. Y remaining to be constant, draw your budget line concentrating on x, but you should draw more for x because price of x is falling. So, this is the initial budget line, that is Px1 is the initial budget line. When the price of the x is falling, more of x will be purchased. Therefore, y remaining to be constant. So, this is the initial budget line. This is the initial budget line. This is the initial budget line Px. Px is the initial budget line. Px is the initial budget line. When the price of x is falling, more of x will be purchased. Therefore, y remaining to be constant, draw more for x. So, x has increased from x to x1. So, when the price of x is falling, budget line will shift to the right, being y remaining to be constant. Y is constant. So, what can we write here? Here, Px1 is the initial budget line. So, when the price of x rises, what will happen? Budget line will shift to the left. So, this is how you mark. When the price of x rises, to the left budget line will shift. When the price of x falls, consumer will buy more of x. Therefore, budget line will shift to the right, concentrating on x, being y to be constant. Next is price of y changes. Price of y changes. Price of y changes. Price of y changes means what? Price of y falls and price of y rises. When the price of y falls means more of y will be purchased. Price of y rises means less of y will be purchased. So, x remains to be constant. So, how will you draw for y? When the price of good y falls, how will you mark it? More of y will be purchased. Here, the initial budget line here is Py. When the price of y has come down, more of y is purchased. Therefore, concentrating on y, the budget line will shift to this side. That means y has increased from y to y1. Budget line has shifted to the right. Concentrating on y, budget line has shifted to the right. Again, price of good y rises. What will happen if the price of good y is rising? Consumer will purchase less of y, being x to be constant. So, concentrating on y, budget line should shift to the left. So, here the initial budget line is Py1. Now, here when the price of good y is rising, consumer will purchase less of y. Therefore, y has decreased from y1 to y. Now, budget line has shifted to the right, concentrating on y. Y has come down. So, budget line has shifted to the left. So, here in the first case, when the price of good has come down, budget line has shifted to the right because consumer will buy more of y. When the price of x has increased, budget line will shift to the left because consumer will purchase only less of y. But remember, x is remaining to be constant. Then comes the next one. When the price and income of the consumer changes together, both are changing. Answer is there is no shift in the budget line because both income as well as price are changing. Therefore, there is no shift in the budget line. We can't express it diagrammatically because both are changing together. So, till now we have finished these cases when income changes, when price of X changes, when price of Y changes, when the income and both the price changes. Next two conditions are when price of X falls and price of Y rises, when price of X rises and Y falls. When one is increasing, other one is decreasing. That is what we have to learn next. When price of X falls and Y rises. Price of X is falling. Price of X is falling means what? Price of X falls means what? More of X is purchased. Price of Y rises means what? Less of Y is purchased. So, how will you represent that? This is the initial budget line, that is Y1, X is the initial budget line. This is the initial budget line. The one which I am drawing is the initial budget line. When the price of X is falling means more of X will be purchased. More of X will be purchased. When the price of Y is rises means what? Less of Y is purchased. So, you can draw the budget line like this. I will draw it here and show it for you. This is the initial budget line. Let us give the name as PB other than this. So, when the price is falling for X means more of X is purchased. So, you have to draw an arrow mark here and you have to represent it as B1. Therefore, here it should come. When the price of Y is rising means less of Y will be purchased. So, below this you have to mark. Okay. Now, connect these 2 points together. This is how we have to draw the budget line. So, when price of X falling means more of X. So, you have to mark it like this. When price of Y is rising means just below this you have to mark a point. Connect these 2 points. This is how you have to draw. So, this represents price of X falling and price of Y rises. This is the new budget line. Likewise, when price of X rises and price of Y falls, let us draw it by the side. Initial budget line is PB. Now, price of X is rising means X should fall. This is good X and this is good Y. Price of X rises means less of Y, less of X will be purchased. Price of X rises means less of X is purchased. Less of X is purchased means what? It should come at a point somewhere over here, less than the initial one, because price of X has increased. Price of Y is fallen, price of Y has come down, that means more of Y is purchased. More of Y is purchased. More of Y is purchased means it has to come up, more of Y from the initial point. Now, connect these 2 points. This is how you draw. Likewise, I have drawn it here. This is the initial one. Price of X has increased means X has increased. Therefore, consumer is purchasing less of X. Price of Y has come down means consumer is purchasing more of Y. So, connect these 2 points, you will get the new budget line. This is how you draw the budget line. So, this is the method of drawing the budget line. When the price of X increased means less of X will be purchased. You can mark a point over here. When price of Y has come down means more of Y will be purchased. Mark a point there. Connect these 2 points. This is how you draw the budget line. So, we have represented all the situations when the income changes, when the price of X increases and decreases, when price of Y increases and decreases, when both income and price changes, when price of X falls, price of Y increases, when the price of Y falls and price of X increases. These are the different situations where budget line shift. Now, we will come to learning all these concepts are very much essential for explaining J.R. Hick's consumer equilibrium theory. Now, we are going to explain the consumer equilibrium theory. So, by understanding the two concepts of indifference curve and budget line, we will be able to learn consumer equilibrium. So, starting to the consumer equilibrium theory. For every theory there are assumptions. Let us move on to the consumer equilibrium theory of J.R. Hicks, his assumptions. Assumptions are consumer is rational, that means he aims at maximum satisfaction. Ordinal utility concept, the J.R. Hicks has used the concept of ordinal utility which can be ranked. MRS decreases continuously, DMRS, diminishing marginal rate of substitution. What is meant by that? Rate of Y sacrificing for X is known as MRS, but the rate of Y sacrificing will go on decreasing after some time, from 8 to 4, 4 to 2, 2 to 1. That is known as decreasing marginal rate of substitution, which happens due to law of diminishing marginal utility. Then comes the next one. Utility is an increasing function of consumption, monotonic preference. On these assumptions, he has explained his theory. So, these are the basic assumptions of his theory, and J.R. Hicks has explained his theory with the help of two concepts, budget line and indifference curve. We have finished learning these two concepts and we are to the starting point of his explanation of the theory. So, before explaining the theory, he has given some assumptions. So, these are the assumptions. Consumer is rational. Now, he has used the ordinal utility concept, then DMRS, and utility is an increasing function of consumption. Thank you.